Hey folks, this is a talk that I have been trying to offer for weeks. It came up in a series of stories that I caught wind of and read and researched, and I wanted to speak about that, and it just, nothing ever sort of fit together. And then I stumbled across this proverb. It's Proverb 29, verse 4. And what it says is, by justice, a king gives a country stability, but those who are greedy for bribes tear it down. Let me say it again. By justice, a king, a ruler, a person of authority, a leader, gives a country, their community, their people, stability. But those who are greedy for bribes, they tear that stability down. Justice is one of those things that it's an ideal, right? And I'm not talking about the criminal justice system. I'm talking about justice in the sense of equality. That what is good for one is good for another. That you treat one person the same way you treat another person, regardless of the skin color, regardless of the language, regardless of the sexual orientation, regardless of the gender identification, regardless of country of origin, regardless of wealth. Just the same. All the same. And we can count on it. Justice is that ideal that we should be able to count on. It should never be questioned. We should never have to wonder, will justice be done? We should know it will be done. Justice as an ideal is something that the people, all of us, need to observe all around us. We need to observe it in our own actions, and we need to observe it in the actions especially of our leadership. We need to see it in the laws that are written. We need to see it in the policies. We need to see it in the moralities. We need to see it in our ideals that we adopt and embrace. Justice is that thing that must be observed, because when it's observed, when it's seen, when it's heard, when it's felt, it brings us stability. We can count on it. We can stand on it. We might not always get our way, but we know justice is done. And in that, we can accept that we didn't get our way. Now, in our world, there are some situations where you absolutely know that there is an absence of justice. You know, look at last year with the death of the murder of George Floyd. A visible indicator of a lack of justice. As horrible as that moment was, it spoke to people like a metaphor for all kinds of other racial injustices, racial inequalities. And together the world rose up and said, this isn't good. We want something done about this. We want this lack of justice fixed. We want this problem solved. We see the same thing in Myanmar right now. People every day standing up in protest saying, we want our votes to count. This coup is taking that away from us. This military coup is silencing us. Give us back our elected government. They seek justice. We see it in Russia. People seeking justice. We're tired of the way things are. We're tired of the way things have been. We want to be a part of this. We want to be a part of the future. We're tired of having others tell us how it's going to happen and asking us, telling us, demanding of us to be silent. We want justice. But we also see the lack of justice in other forms of instability. Think about these conspiracy theories. There was an article the other day saying that conspiracy theories on Facebook are growing and growing and growing, that a conspiracy theory on Facebook will gain like twice the amount of conversation. People will talk about it twice as much as anything else that's being posted. These conspiracy theories are an indicator of instability. They're written by people desperately trying to make sense of this world, and they're looking in these they're looking for these little minute details all over, thinking that there's some sort of code presented in the world that if they put it all together, they will come to an answer that helps them to understand why it is the world is the way it is, why it is they feel so disconnected, why it is they feel so disenfranchised, why it is the world seems to be passing them by and there's nothing they can do about it, why it is that others seem to have more, better than them. These conspiracy theories are another form of instability. And if there was justice in our world, if our leadership of our communities, the leadership of our provinces and states, our nations, of our societies, made justice the thing that they reached for, made that the gold standard of every law, every policy, every decision, and allowed us to observe that, allowed us to feel it, allowed us to experience justice, these instabilities would go away. Conversations like this are difficult to have because we are kind of talking about high-level stuff, right? We're talking about what elected officials are doing in Ottawa or London or Washington or Tokyo or wherever. And we feel powerless in that. Well, it's them. They should be, this is what they should be doing. You know? But justice is something that you and I can have our hands on as well. In our own lives, are we acting justly? Are we providing justice to ourselves? Are we providing justice to the people within our sphere of influence? Are we providing justice in our way to our communities? When people know us, when they come to us, when they build a relationship with us, do they know that we are people of justice? That no matter what, we will treat everybody the same? That no matter what, our decisions will be based on what is right, not on some other factor. We exist within systems that we don't really, at least we don't really feel like we have control over. But we do have control over ourselves. We have control over our own decisions. We have controls over our own behaviors. You and I, we can act justly. We can teach others to act justly. We can begin this process of restoring justice in our communities from the bottom up. We don't have to wait for someone up on high to bless us with what they should already be doing. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you, and may you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray, regardless of what trickles down to us, that you and I will be agents of justice, that we will be agents of righteousness. Amen.